Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me. In today's video, the goal is to cover some concepts related to live betting. If you've been on the internet, you've seen a lot of people lately talking about how lucrative live betting can be, and they often sell a dream that it is almost a cheat code in the sports gambling world. I want to walk through some pros of live betting, some cons of live betting, and then give you some tips to hopefully help you limit your mistakes and have more fun doing this. We are going to be looking at a tool called smartstake. Currently, it is a free, yes, I said that, it is a free plus EV arbitrage site that also offers live betting. If you were to do something like this with a competitor, it would cost $200 at a minimum, maybe even $500 per month. So having a resource like smartstake where you get all of these lines completely for free is slightly unbelievable. Let's take a look. I do want to talk first about the options for live betting. There are two of them. The first is arbitrage betting and the second is plus EV betting. We're going to go through each of these, talk about the pros and cons of them, and again, give you some tips as we walk through this. Arbitrage is what we will start with first. Arbitrage betting is simply betting opposite sides of the same line to guarantee a profit. This is a no risk way to make money. This is how I made all of my money when I was a professional sports bettor, both on pre-live and live. But I will tell you there are some cons with arbitrage betting that are not present in pregame as they are when you look at live betting. Every play on the field or court has an impact on the line, so you will constantly see sports books updating their odds. The second con of arbitrage betting or live betting in general are the barriers to entry. And what I mean by that is the technology. You often see people post their setups online and they have 4 and 5 monitors. They have 3 and 4 phones and iPads. So it is not lost on me that some people do not have those resources. If you want to be successful at live betting, I would recommend getting at least 2 screens and a phone. And it's not a necessity, but it will make your life easier. The best thing about arbitrage betting is it's guaranteed money. However, that guaranteed nature does fluctuate when you're doing it live. It's possible to bet one side of the market, go to bet the other side, and see the lines change. When that happens, your arb is gone, and now you're left with one open side. What do you do there? We'll talk about it in the tips section. It's not all doom and gloom. There is an opportunity to make more money due to the fact that you will be getting more volume. Now, I do want to say anecdotally, it does prolong limits. I am not going to sit here and say that you're going to be able to skirt limits forever, but I have been told the industry does believe that when you're live betting, it's harder for the books to tell if you are a sharp bettor or just a degenerate, so it is possible that live betting can help extend the life of your accounts. And then the final pro kind of combines the first two pros in that there are more opportunities on main lines. Betting on main lines is the best way to avoid limits, and while there's often not a ton of arbitrage opportunities on pre-game main lines, there are often quite a few on live main lines. Plus EV betting involves betting a line that is good to the market or good to a sharp book. This is how most professional sports bettors make their money. Some cons are you will have to deal with variance. In other words, you're not going to win every bet like you would with arbitrage. You're going to have periods of winning, you're going to have periods of losing. But mathematically, over the long term, it is assumed that you should make money provided you are betting into lines that are good versus the market. One of the other big cons is deciding who is sharp. Now, this is something that I have learned over the course of my sports betting career, and there are a lot of disagreements on this within the industry. I would recommend that you figure out who you trust, whether that's FanDuel, whether that's Pinnacle, whether that's Circa in certain markets. But for the most part, it's widely accepted that Pinnacle, Circa, and even FanDuel are becoming some of the sharper books in the industry. Pros to plus EV betting is that speed is less crucial. You're only locking in one side of a bet and not two with arbitrage, so it is much easier, much faster to be able to get a bet in. It also prolongs limits, and there are more opportunities on main lines. I've learned that not all sports are created equal. I want to stress that this is my experience. There are going to be people in the industry who may look at this chart and disagree. I'm telling you that this is from my time betting live sports. What you have to think about is pace of play and the value of points when you want to approach live betting. Tennis and baseball, I find to be some of the hardest live sports to bet because they are constantly changing. Odds are constantly moving. Even the strike count, how many balls, how many strike, a big hit into right center that causes a double, shifts the line drastically and can happen like that. There are also not as many breaks in baseball, believe it or not. Yes, I understand between innings there are, but in the pace of play, in the run of play, balls and strikes do move the line. So tennis and baseball are fairly difficult to live arb and plus EV bet. Now, basketball and hockey are a little bit easier. There's more stoppages, there's more timeouts. A two-pointer here, a free throw there doesn't necessarily change the projection of the entire game because teams score in the hundreds of points, whereas baseball, they're only scoring 5 to 6. Soccer and football are probably some of the easiest. My favorite is to bet on football. Between timeouts, commercial breaks, quarters ending, and the length between snaps, it is easier to lock in a bet before that line changes. You also get a ton of opportunities on Saturdays and Sundays when most people do have time to sports bet. Taking a look at some tips before we head on over to SmartStake, I would recommend having multiple devices or screens. It's not a necessity, but it will make your life easier. I would also recommend starting with small stakes. I understand that you're going to see a lot of people online showing you how much money they win, but you're going to do this longer and be less frustrated if you start and practice and get into a rhythm rather than trying to bet hundreds of dollars right away and get frustrated as lines are moving and odds are changing. That leads me to the third tip. Patience is underrated. This is what I struggle with most with live betting. Even after doing it for hundreds of hours, it is tough to sit there and see a good line, almost get it in and then see it lock. And then you're more tempted to get faster and bet the other lines and move quicker. And it can all just kind of unravel you mentally. It is tricky to stay poised and stay diligent. So understanding that in an hour's worth of time, you may only lock in 10 to 12 good bets, that's something you have to learn to be okay with. I should have put this one first because it was likely my biggest mistake when I started this, and it's one of the hardest things for me to do till this day, and that is to hedge for a small loss if a line moves. I am not good at this, and it is the source of a lot of pain and a lot of frustration. I bet one side of an arb, and the other side becomes no good. What do? Oftentimes, I would let this ride. And sometimes it worked out, and sometimes I'd win big, but a lot of times, and specifically the times I remember, are the times that I lost. So I would always recommend, if you place a big bet on one side and the other side moves, take your small loss of $10 to $20, move on, and live to fight another day. We briefly touched on this, but don't expect to get every bet you see. A bet every 5 to 10 minutes is pretty good in live betting. And the last tip I have is that plus EV betting is ironically a little bit safer in my experience than arbitrage. I tend to get frustrated at live arbitrage betting unless it's on football where the game moves a little bit slower. And that's because lines do change. Books move a little bit faster than they used to. And so the frustration that I have trying to lock in two sides when those are constantly updating is sometimes not worth it. I would rather know I'm placing a high volume of high quality plus EV bets and just deal with the variance than I would trying to lock in a guaranteed profit, but keep having the line shift. Enough blabbering, let's check out SmartStake and see what their product can offer you. I want to take a brief moment to show you how this works. I'm going to warn you that it is Wednesday at 1:35. There are 3 baseball games on and some tennis. If you are interested in getting the most bang for your buck, I would recommend coming back on a college football Saturday, an NFL Sunday. A lot of people like to live bet NBA slates when there are 10 to 15 games on. So understand there may not be as many opportunities on this video as there would be on a more populated slate. So here is one right now that's occurring. It's a first half run line. You can see BetMGM with the Guardians plus 2.5 at minus 110, Tampa Bay Rays minus 2.5 plus 150. Again, this is first half run line. Possibly the coolest feature on SmartStake is this dual button. If you click it, it will open up both of these sports books, take you to the game, take you to the market, so you can easily drop in your money. If you click on this, it will also tell you what stake or what wager to make, so you don't have to do all this mental math. If you can get 200 down on BetMGM minus 110, if you can get 150 down on Bet365, you stand to make $29 no matter what happens in the first half. Let's say one of the odds changes on you, because in live betting, we talked about that can happen. You would just come in here and simply change this number, and the stake would auto update. The total profit would auto update. You see that we still have 200 over here, but now this changes to 146. Let's say it's at minus 140. Now we bet 137 on this side. You can constantly refresh using this button here, and you can see things go in and out. And again, arbitrage is going to be harder to find opportunities than plus EV. Heading on over to the positive EV section, you're going to see more of them when we go over here to live, just because we are only looking for one book to be off. In this case, BetMGM, we have first half total runs in Guardians and Rays. You can see Pinnacle is at 178. You can see that Fanatics is at 170. And you see that our book here in question, BetMGM, is at plus 210. If you have a $5,000 bankroll, it's recommending a $41 bet. A lot of live betting is about patience. It is about picking your spots. You can see here that this wager plus 300 is EV to Pinnacle. MGM and Hard Rock both are sitting at plus 300, but some of these other books are also sitting at plus 300. So maybe there's a chance that you look at this and you say, possibly Pinnacle is not as sharp on this first half line. Everybody else matches the plus EV bet. Maybe we just pass on that one. Another feature I want to point out is this pin feature. When things are bouncing all around and updating constantly, you may want to keep your eye on a certain bet. So you can pin this and it will show you that the odds are staying right now at plus 310. And as it sits here, it will go in and out of green when it is no longer a plus EV bet. So let me pin this one and I'll show you what I mean here. Plus 125 is currently 4.88% positive expected value. You can see FanDuel here at plus 110, Hard Rock at plus 110. This is good. This is what I actually like and actually would bet, because we get a larger sample size of books and the majority of the market is at this 110, 105, 116 number. So 125 would be one that I would be like, yes, let's bet this. Here's one on a main line. So this is also very tempting. We have a Tampa Bay Rays minus 1.5. If you're looking to avoid limits for as long as possible, sticking to things like main lines, money lines, things that people would traditionally bet is the way to go. First half total runs isn't the worst, but that market is a little more niche. So here you have DraftKings minus 135 for the Rays to win by 1. If they win by exactly 1, this bet does push. You don't win, you don't lose. But if they win by anything more than 1, you do profit. I could sit here and look at plus EV bets all day, but that's not going to help you or I out. What I would suggest, if this is intriguing to you, is to log on and check for yourself. Again, Smart Stake is completely free, so there's no harm in getting on the site and clicking through some things, fully testing the product. You don't even have to go out and actually wager anything on these sports books if you're not comfortable yet. Get on here during a live college football Saturday and look around and get comfortable with the market. I don't want to kill too much of your time today. I just want to show you a product that I think can add value to your sports betting life, especially since it is completely free. The last thing I want to do is sell you some dream that plus EV, arbitrage, live betting is going to change your life. It's going to be the thing that pays off all your debts and helps you go on those extra vacations. While that is true for some people, and some people are able to perfect their craft, that is not true for everybody. And as these books get sharper and as these markets get thinner and things become more difficult, I don't want you to believe that this is a get-rich-quick scheme. This should very much be viewed as a hobby or a short-term side hustle. So in conclusion, the best advice I can give you is, if you're new to this and you're curious about live betting, start small. You have got to ignore the pickets that you see online of people making $20,000 live betting. It's so easy. Anybody can do it. Live betting is inherently more dangerous than is pre-game betting. There is less time to stop and relax and make sure you are really locking in a good bet. But with that downside does come the upside that it is often more profitable and can help you avoid limits longer than if you were to just slam pre-game arbs. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about live betting, drop them down below. Check out Smart Stake while it is free. Their devs are very active in the community. They'd be happy to answer any of your questions or add any features that would make your live betting experience easier.